Hi everyone, we are live with Pride Guides Kim, Savannah, Jared, and Mariana. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hello.
So they're here today to answer some of your burning questions, so we are just going to get started. So guys, first question, some common, questions that you're asked on tours.
One of the most common questions I get is about parking, and if you have to pay for parking on campus, how you can go about parking on campus. So at Hofstra, your parking is free. You don't have to pay for it. You just have to register your car with public safety so they know whose car is coming on and off campus. And residential students can park in residential lots, and there's plenty of those everywhere. And if you're a commuter, there are designated commuter lots so that you are able to park close to your classes.
One of the most often questions I get is when people ask me, oh, what is there to do on the weekends? I'm a pre-med major, so I'm studying a lot in the library, but when I'm not in the library, I like to go to the city with my friends. New York is just a 30-minute train ride away. I go into the city about once a month. And then on campus during the weekends, there's so much to do. There's a lot of club student organizations. There's also a lot of performances to go see, so comedy shows, a cappella groups do performances, a lot of international student groups do performances, and then of course there's a faculty department that always puts on the dance shows, and there's always a lot to do. So
and kind of going off of both of those, I always get asked about whether you need a car on campus. I'm originally from Southern California, so my first 2 years on campus I did not have a car. Honestly, I didn't really feel the need to have one. We do have train shuttles and bus shuttles on campus that will take you to any of the major stores and places you need to go. But if you don't have a car, there's so much to do on campus, kind of like what Mariana was saying. There's so much to do on campus, you honestly don't really need a car to go anywhere outside of campus, because pretty much everything you could think of is on campus.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder there. I think the question I get asked the most is along the lines of what is there to do on campus. And one thing I like to do is I like to go to a lot of different sporting events on campus. We have 17 D1 teams on campus. My favorite's the basketball team, that or the soccer team. But I go to almost all of their games. And the cool thing is that as a student, you get 2 free tickets to the game. That and also for a lot of the performing arts events too, like the different musical concerts, drama events. Those are some of my favorite things to do during the weekends, or even during weekdays as well.
Nice, we talked a little bit just now about some events on campus, so why don't we back up and talk about what you guys are all involved in.
I'll start. So I'm actually involved in a couple different things on campus. I'm in one of our sororities, Phi Sigma Sigma. I was also on the executive board for that this past year, and I'm also in one of our co-ed pre-professional fraternities, that is Zeta Phi Eta, which is centered around people in the communications, since I'm a journalism major. And then I've also been part of a couple other clubs between the last 4 years, including Hofstra Concerts, Entertainment Unlimited, and Her Campus Hofstra.
I'm in Delta Phi Epsilon Social Sorority on campus, and I hold multiple positions in that organization. I'm also the president and founder of the American Medical Women's Association on campus, and I'm also part of Club Soccer and Neuroscience Club and PA Club. So I do a lot.
For me, I used to be the vice president of our school's economics club. I also am a part of my school's pep band. I actually manage the group, and I also am actively involved in our school's Red Cross Club, and I love to do blood donations.
nice. I am an RA in Nassau, Suffolk. Which is one of our residential halls on campus. I am involved in the Ultimate Frisbee Club, team sport. I also am involved in InterVarsity Christian Fellowship Club, and then I'm involved in admissions. Yeah,
All of us.
And so you guys, you're all Pride Guides, so for those who don't know, what is a Pride Guide?
A Pride Guide is a tour guide of campus, so whenever families are interested in coming to Hofstra, want to learn more, we show them around campus, we talk about what we're involved in, and just kind of share a little bit about the student perspective with Hofstra.
We're also kind of the first faces you see when you come to campus, because I know my first day at Hofstra was for an admitted student day. It was during the spring break of my senior year of high school. And I remember walking into the student center and being overwhelmed with how big it was, first off, and how many people were in there. But I remember the first people that I met, aside from the admissions counselors, were Pride Guides.
I think when it comes to knowing like the insides and outs of Hofstra, we're kind of your go-to people. It's like Mariana said, you know, and like also what Kim said, we're not only like the welcoming faces of campus, but also the people who get to show you around, and also we're the people who know all the extra cool tips about being a Hofstra student as well.
Awesome. So right now, for those who don't know, we are currently in the Pride Den, which is an awesome place to hang out on campus and study, eat, hang out with friends. So speaking of places on campus, what are each of your favorite places to be on campus?
My answer for that is actually the library. So there is I just really like it, okay. There's the first floor of the library. There's this one room that my friends and I called the cubicle room because it just has a bunch of cubicles, and it's my absolute favorite place to study. I will not study anywhere else because I literally feel like so at home there. And when I was deciding on what school to come to, how updated and modern the library was a big factor in my decision.
This wasn't planned, but my favorite spot on campus is actually the Pride Den. Mostly because I can come down here at any time of day and there's always people down here. Like some of my sorority sisters are actually in the opposite corner right now, and we can all come down here and either do homework together, study for our classes together, or even just grab food. And even if it's on a weekend, there's been times that we've had an event to go to on a weekend and we'll all come together down here and just eat and hang out afterwards. So pretty much any time of day that I'm on campus that I need to be somewhere and just be out of my room, this is like my go-to spot, and there's food directly above us, so it's always nice to just be able to come and hang out here, but also always have access to food if I need it.
Speaking of food, my favorite spot is Bits and Bites, which is on the south side of our campus. It's near all of our academic buildings, so in between classes I love to go there. They have a really good build your own burger, and I'm a sucker for veggie burgers, so I go there a lot. And it's also just a really cool place to hang out in between classes because I'll always see my friends kind of walking in and out, grabbing a quick bite between classes, and I always get to see them and say hello.
Nice. I actually was also going to say the library. That's why I laughed. But on the 10th floor, there's a big wide open space, and the tables are around the perimeter. The windows, you can see the city skyline from on a clear day. And it's just really beautiful up there. And then when it's not cold or raining outside, I love being out on the quad or in the intramural fields, just feeling out the fresh air.
Why Hofstra for each of you?
My answer is kind of specific to my major. So we have an affiliation with Northwell, which is a huge hospital system on Long Island, and I'm a physician assistant major. So just being able to make those connections and get to work in a hospital that is doing groundbreaking research is something that I absolutely love. Also, all of our science buildings are really up to date, and the research that you can get involved in with all of the professors I thought was really cool, and that you don't have to be in that certain major or in that certain field to get involved in that research. And coming to Hofstra, that was something that I absolutely loved and I wanted to get involved in, so it just made the decision very obvious for me.
So I think for me, unlike Savannah, I didn't have a whole lot of an idea what I wanted to study when I first came here. I'm currently a political science major, but I made a lot of changes along the way to get here. And so when I first came to Hofstra, it was the summer going into my senior year. And it was, I remember kind of vividly, it was a really sunny day, like borderline 80 degrees, just a little too hot, but it was still fine. But I honestly fell in love with the campus. The flowers were blooming. It was almost like a scene from a movie. And at that point, I was like, wow, Hofstra's this really cool place. I think I might want to come back. But once I applied, I was accepted, and I came back for an admitted students day. Just the whole experience of the school, getting to see it again, that's kind of when I knew that I was like, this is my place to be. And ever since, being involved on campus, making the friends that I did, and really exploring through, classes and also just different clubs on campus, I've kind of found that this is the right choice for me.
I always tell people my journey to Hofstra was a little unconventional because I had never heard of Hofstra until I got an email saying that I should apply, and I was like, it's not going to hurt. I know I wanted to get out of California just because I'd been there for my entire life and I wanted something new.
That's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, so I ended up applying, and then I got accepted. I came for an admitted students day, like I said earlier, and then I walked around campus and I was really nervous because of how big it was compared to my high school, my middle school, my elementary school. I was so prepared to be so overwhelmed, and that didn't end up happening. And then I met a bunch of different students on campus and saw how close-knit all of them were and saw how diverse the community was, not just in terms of the students, but also the different clubs and the academics. Like, everybody was so diverse and so involved in everything that it made me realize that even though I would be across the country, literally from my home and from where I was familiar, this ended up becoming my second home. And my parents ended up catching me my freshman year, like a month into the semester. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going home right now. And my parents were like, I'm sorry, what? And I was just like, I'm sorry. It ended up becoming like my home away from home.
Yeah, I definitely was attracted to Hofstra, knowing that it was in New York, having such a wide, diverse range of students and different people from all over was definitely a big factor for me.
What are the benefits of a campus tour for prospective students?
I think one of the biggest things about getting onto campus and going on a campus tour is you get to feel the vibes. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but you really have to be able to imagine yourself living in a place for 4 years, and it's really hard to do that if you haven't actually been there. So I think the biggest thing about the campus tour is you get to experience what the atmosphere is really like and see if you feel comfortable and if it's going to be a good visit. Yeah.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, Mariana, there, because you definitely, it's one thing to be able to see pictures and descriptions online, but once you come and you see the campus, sometimes it can be a completely different thing. And that's what it did for me for Hofstra, because the pictures I saw online were really awesome, really cool, but then once I came and I saw campus, I got to see students kind of studying in their own natural habitat, to kind of put in a weird way, but also I got to see, what people were like, what people did in their spare time. I actually kind of just asked random people who were walking around when I was a prospective student, like, oh, what are you involved in? And kind of seeing that, like, there are real people here too, and that I can honestly see myself walking to class every day from my residence hall, going to these classrooms, being in all these different buildings and everything like that. Once I kind of had the opportunity to see that and I realized that that could be me, that's when I knew.
You can also find out like the little cute, like quirky things that a campus has. Like, we as Pride Guides always talk about the Hofstra cats, and that was something that I just thought was so unique and so interesting about Hofstra. So we actually have cats that are running around campus. They're all taken care of by the Hofstra faculty and staff. They're fed, they get to go to the vet, and then once they're old enough, they're put up for adoption. And there are certain cats on this campus that, there was always this one in front of Calkins Hall that my friends and I actually ended up naming. And the Hofstra Chronicle picked up the name and wrote in the paper that oh, this is our friend. And it was just really, I don't know, it's just something that's cute and quirky like that. You're just wow, that's how you realize that a school can become that home away from home.
And it's really cool too because it is given by Pride Guides like ourselves, so it is given by a student, so you can ask those nitty-gritty questions that your parents may not be able to answer. I remember going into making a decision of where I wanted to go. I was messaging all of my friends that were already in colleges, being what do I do? I'm so nervous, I'm so unprepared. And getting to go, I didn't do a campus visit, I just did the admitted student date, so being on the other side of it, I get asked questions that I never thought of asking when I was here, or just asking my parents because my parents didn't know the answer to it. So you get a lot of kind of like they've all said, you get a lot of the inside tips, and you get to learn about it from a student perspective, and you get to also, if it's a smaller group, because it's with a tour guide, you get a one-on-one experience, and we really try and tailor it to what you want. So if you're interested in seeing specific things and hearing about specific things, you get to know everything that you possibly want to know.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. If you are interested in learning more about visiting campus, you can go to hofstra.edu/visit. And if you want to connect with the Pride Guides, Hofstra Pride Guides on Facebook and Instagram, and Hof Pride Guide on Twitter. Thanks so much.
See ya.